Now, 70% of Australian children are experiencing back pain with fears overloaded school backpacks are putting way too much pressure on young students' spines, and that's wreaking havoc with their posture.
As I sit up straighter. So this morning we're taking a closer look at just how heavy they can get and ways to help lighten the load. Physiotherapist Tim Detman joins us now in the studio. So Tim, I tell you what, kids really are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, it sounds like.
They certainly are. Life's difficult as a young kid these days.
It really is. So how much of an issue is this for students out there, young students?
It is a real issue, David. We see students coming in as a physiotherapist to my clinic in February and in March, just like we see tax accountants coming in because they've spent too much sitting down time in June.
Right.
So
they've had all this free time in their school holidays and then they're starting to load up.
Yeah, exactly right. And maybe not loading up.
How young are we talking? From what age?
Usually peripubescent, so 10, 12, 14. During those developing years, that's where it's the biggest problem.
So how much weight is too much?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. It's a really difficult question. The evidence actually shows that there isn't such thing as too much weight, and there's not a correlation between how much weight is in the backpack and how much pain a kid experiences. And that research came out of University of Sydney last year, but what they did show is that the perception of how heavy the backpack is really important. So if I put 5 kilos in a backpack and I pack it tightly, it might feel like 5 kilos. If I pack it poorly and I lengthen the straps and it's inappropriately sized backpack, it probably feels like 15 or maybe 50 kilos.
And the problem is we're so time poor as parents, and you know, a lot of kids are now packing their own bags from a younger age. They're getting out the door, they're getting the school bus or whatever to get to school. We can't tell if they're carrying it on one shoulder. Is that bad nowadays? If the straps are right, how have they packed their bag? It's hard to keep up, especially when you're doing 2 or 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah, and what's a really tough thing as a physio is how do we measure that? How do we say to 50 kids, oh, you go to school with 1 strap on, and another 50 kids, you go with 2 straps on? So we don't know. What we can do is try and apply our best theory. So if you can get your kids wearing both straps of their backpack, that's really useful because at least then the load's symmetrical. If you can get them to clip up the clip in the middle between their 2 straps, that'll help as well because it's probably going to spread the load a little bit further. All of those little things we think they will help, even in the absence of really good evidence to suggest it absolutely will.
So, I mean, what are kids actually carrying in their backpack these days? I'm thinking, you know, textbooks, but they've also got their lunch, they've got water, they have computers.
Yeah, so I think that backpacks should be getting lighter. I mean, we're not using textbooks like we used to. We should be carrying maybe a laptop and an iPad, and most of our books should be electronic. So they should be becoming a little bit lighter, but I suppose if you put too many things in there, it's going to become heavy pretty quickly.
And food and water, we want our kids to stay hydrated. And you've got a couple of little small bottles here, but my kids would drink that in one sitting. So, you know, the bigger the bottle, I suppose, the heavier the backpack. Yeah. So maybe if we set them they could fill their bottles up when they get to school and do things like that. Would that help?
I think that's a really good idea. I certainly don't think we should change the nutrition or hydration habits of our kids because there's no evidence that an extra kilo is going to give them more back pain.
Take your textbook, but no food and water today.
Yeah, you're learning, not eating.
So maybe you're right. Maybe just fill it up at school. And certainly in these backpacks, what you'll find is that the drink bottle is generally quite close to the back and it's quite low on the backpack, and ergonomically that probably helps just a little bit.
All right, thanks Tim, great to have you in this morning.
Thank you David, thank you Alison.